YouTube, welcome back to another video where we are going to cover the 4 pillars of hybrid performance. How exciting. So when we look at hybrid training in all of its facets, in all of its endeavors, the problem most people face is they try to do everything without a system. They're trying to lift heavy, they're trying to run far, run quick, and under recover. Eating clean all the time, but overall their intake is low and underfueled, which is not going to be good for progress in the gym, with the running, and overall body composition. Training daily, but no real plan. Might be push on a Monday, pull on a Tuesday, don't bother with legs. Meant to do a run on the Wednesday, but it gets pushed back to a Thursday because it was cold on the Wednesday, etc. They end up tired, injured, or will hit a plateau, which is obviously not what we want. So when we look at strength, and when we look at training for strength and endurance, strength training is typically going to be 2 to 4 gym sessions per week, focusing on compound lifts, squat, deadlift, press-in movements, rows, pull-ups, this, that, and the other. And ultimately, we're going to look to follow a form of periodization. Always a struggle saying that word. Where we build, we then look to peak with our training, and then deload and repeat. From an endurance perspective, 2 to 4 sessions per week, mixture of tempo, intervals, and long runs, training across intensities such as zone 2 to zone 5. Zone 5 being sort of max efforts. Now, your session volume will be very dependent on what phase of training you are in. So if you are in a endurance-based training block, marathon, ultra marathon, whatever it may be, then you might be on the higher amount of volume of endurance work and the lower volume for strength work. So it might be 4 endurance-based training sessions and 2 strength sessions. If you are utilising the winter that we're now entering and you want to get stronger and focus on that, you may be doing 3 or 4 gym sessions per week, but then maybe only 1 or 2 endurance training sessions per week. So that is something to think about. Okay. One thing though, don't mix both into one session. So don't do a strength training session and go straight into a 20k run. Be stupid. Schedule your runs and lifts strategically. So split it AM and PM or alternate days. So I would always be going with the most important session first, or when you feel at your best, and then the other session later on. So thinking about it like that, I quite like double training because it will then allow you another full-on rest day in that week. So if you do an AM and PM, later on down the line in the week, you'll be able to have a full-on rest day, which you will definitely want if you are training hard and high amounts of volume. Nutrition, we want to be making sure to fuel for performance. So match intake to training output. Under eating kills progress. So I've spoken about this before in terms of eating back the calories that you burn when it comes to your longer distance running or your sort of cardio based workout. So if you're doing if you do a 10k run, burn 1,000 calories, let's say, you want to roughly eat about 70 to 80% of those calories back. So 700 to 800 of those back on top of your baseline. So let's say you want to eat 700 calories back, your baseline is 2,500. That day you'd be consuming 3,200 calories. Okay, so make sure you are trying to match the output to what it is you are sort of training for. Carbohydrates, obviously, I've spoken about this lots of times. Fuel the sort of the runs and the lifts. They're your energy source. Protein for recovery, 1.6 to 2 grams per kilogram of body weight. Fats will make up the rest of the calories as well. But do not neglect your fats because they're great for obviously hormone health, focus, brain health, and everything else. Timing of your meals is definitely important. Pre-training, we want to be a high bias on carbohydrate intake with some protein. Post-training, protein and carbohydrates to help with recovery. Speaking of recovery, this is definitely the forgotten component, definitely something that a lot of people neglect. And obviously, if you're training in mixed modalities, you need to nail your recovery just as much as you nail your runs, your nutrition, and everything else. Sleep is a non-negotiable. Obviously, 7 to 8 hours. We want to be making sure we're doing some mobility work. I'll be doing the mobility work sort of before your workout, so sort of having that in the session before to obviously get yourself prepared. But even on rest days, like doing some mobility drills will definitely help, especially sort of like around the hips, the lower body. We're doing a lot of running. Making sure we're taking adequate deloads every sort of 6 to 8 weeks to help drop off fatigue, give ourselves a bit of a mental rest as well. And then we can then push back into the next training block. Active recovery, walking, light mobility, or sort of a light run, light walk. I would just do a walk to be fair, and some mobility on the active recovery. We might jump on the bike. And then stress management, breath work, journaling, sauna, just general unplugging. The reason why I put sauna there, You've got no mobile phone, no devices. You can just sit there with your thoughts. It's a great way of just, can be used as a good way, or it could be quite a stressful experience depending on who you are, but it's a great way of just unwinding and also helping with your sleep. Pillar 4, the final pillar, is mindset. Okay, discipline over motivation, because we all know motivation is very unreliable. Time, it will come and go, probably on a week to week basis. You might have 1 week really, really good, motivation's high, the next week not so much, because work is more stressful, the kids aren't sleeping at night, just general enjoyment of training might be low, which is why we want structure to help keep consistency and therefore rely on our discipline and build our discipline. By doing so, having a morning and evening routine, it's going to help obviously create that mental clarity. So in the morning, if you committing to going to the gym 6 till 7 in the morning, do that. Evening time, if it's walking the dog with your partner, 7 till 8, make sure you do that. Okay, reflection and journaling as well. So what I would be doing at the end of each day is just reflecting on how the day went, training, work, everyday life, whatever it may be, and then making sure that the following day you've written out some tasks that you're looking to do. So at least that way, when you wake up the following morning, you're not overwhelmed with thinking I need to do X, Y, and Z. Have a list of 3 to 5 things that you need to do. At least that way you can go to bed knowing exactly what needs to be done. Happy days. You can sleep like a baby. Purpose over feelings. So training regardless of emotion, very similar to the first one, but training, getting it done. Okay, I think the biggest thing is if you've got a big enough why and a big enough goal, you're going to be able to train and get it done regardless. So if you're training for an event, looking a certain way, whatever it may be, if that goal is big enough and more and is important to you, you'll get everything done. Operating like an athlete, like I've said, treating your recovery well, training just as hard, make sure you're eating everything sort of winds into one. Make sure you track your progress as well. So log your lifts, how you're feeling, your runs, everything. Make sure you're keeping progress. So over a long period of time, you're going to be able to see how far it is that you've come. And obviously make sure to reflect, reset, and then repeating the process. Now, where do most people fall short when it comes to the pillars of hybrid training? So most know what to do, but they're not sure on how to do it all together. Okay, so they know how to train, they know how to go and do a long run and a tempo run, they know what to eat, they know how to recover, but it's just balancing it all, putting it all together as one with everyday life as well. So they have no structures linking gyms, the runs and recovery. It's all a little bit ad hoc. They might be doing a deadlift session on a Tuesday and then an interval on a Wednesday morning and wondering why their interval sessions feel so difficult. Well, probably because the fact 12 hours ago you were doing a heavy lift with a deadlift. Random meals, inconsistent sleep. Again, if you're not prioritizing your carbohydrates around your training session, do see a drop off in energy. If you're not consuming enough protein each day, that again might lead to poor recovery. And if you're sort of not consuming the consistent amount of calories each day, again, that's going to fluctuate your overall intake across a week, which can impact your progress. And no accountability or systems to track. So you're just guessing, you don't know what to do. You might be writing it on your notes. And then, of course, as weeks go by, your notes sort of go down to the bottom and you're not sure where you are at. So what I would be doing with your gym sessions, run, recovery, make sure that you understand your main focus. So if it's strength or is it running, and have the large portion of your training based around that goal. That's the priority. And then the other discipline is more of a maintenance and there to just sort of help tick over. Meals, you're having those around your training window. That's very important. If you're training first thing in the morning, wake up, hydrate, electrolytes, use caffeine as you wish. Go to the gym, train, make sure the meal the night before is high in carbohydrates to ensure that your glycogen levels are topped up so your energy is there to be used in that session. And then post morning workout, have your protein with your carbohydrate source and crack on with the day. Sleep-wise, have a routine. Make sure you know caffeine in the afternoon. Make sure you're going to bed at roughly similar time each night. Keep the room nice and dark, nice and cool, and that's your bedtime routine. Not needing to read a book. If you want to read a book, read a book. And then accountability or system. So accountability, reach out to a friend, reach out to a family member, put it on a social media page, get yourself a coach. And then obviously the systems, if you have a coach, that will all come with it. But again, make sure you use an app called like Rep Count where you can log your lifts in the gym. Use Strava as well, which is fantastic. Accountability, run clubs are here, there, and everywhere. So go and get yourself signed up to a run club. They're all the things that I would be doing to combat each of these points. So that is a little bit more when we look at the four pillars of hybrid performance. We've got training, we've got nutrition, we've got recovery, and we've got mindset. It's normally the three. The fourth one I just threw in there just to bulk it out a little bit more. So they are the four pillars. So hopefully we can take a few things away from this, implement it into our routine, and obviously get that needle moving forward across these next few winter months. But if we enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.